Afternoon, everybody. Um, Thank you for everyone making time to gather today. I hope everyone is well. We've had insightful insights from, um, specialists, professors, you know, policy advisors, and my perspective is from the day-to-day teacher. And a few months ago, I sort of like played around with this idea that how can AI help the normal day-to-day educator? And looking at a lot of tools that we have nowadays, it's very hard to choose the relevant tool for educators, and also that is really trained on caps. You know, so I I developed this tool and I called it EduCaps AI. And this tool is actually trained on the CAPS policy. The document that educators are supposed to have, and they should be filed in their educator files, right? So that exact file, that exact documents that tell educators what to teach, how to teach, and for how long to teach the very same subject. Let's be honest. If I may ask you, how much time is spent on your work that doesn't really feel like work? You know, I'm talking about, think alongside emails, reports, admin, data entry. But for many teachers, administrative tasks consume up to half of their time. And that's time that's really meant for creativity. That's meant for, authenticity, creating like the craft of teaching itself. Because when you ask a learner, what do you want to do when you grow up? And the learner says, I want to be a teacher. When, if you really if we were able to look into the learner's mind, they're probably thinking alongside changing the world, right? They don't think about admin, they don't think about capturing, they don't think about grading papers. So the hidden burden is that educators are more focused on the admin task, on the admin stuff, rather than teaching itself. So I want to really bring you back and put you into the shoes of the day-to-day educator. Imagine you have 30 scripts and you are tasked with grading the scripts, giving comments, and you have 2 minutes to do that. Well, that's impossible, right? But for some of us today, this is just another live demo. And for the day-to-day educator, let's call her Ms. Dlamini. And on one Tuesday afternoon, after the bell has rung, Ms. Dlamini is seated in her classroom on her desk, and she's covered by piles and piles of papers. And I'm talking 30 essays. I'm talking 30 tasks that needs grading and commenting. So one day, Ms. Dlamini's school introduced EduCaps AI. And as the principal was busy workshopping the teachers on how this system is gonna, work and it's gonna make their life easy, she remembered to herself, like, okay, just another tool, just another new thing to learn. And, later that afternoon, because of the workload that she was faced with, she decided to give it a try. In this case, we are Ms. Dlamini. Okay, start by greeting first. All right. So Ms. Dlamini wants to grade the papers, right? And then I'm going to say, okay, I need right. Oh, and by the way, this is just generated essays. There's no learner details on it, so data privacy is is sorted. So what's going on here? As you can see, because this AI is trained on CAPS policies, it's rooted in CAPS. So first things first, we spoke about drafting for teacher review, and that's important. So what this system does, automatically it knows that whatever's generating is a draft that needs to be reviewed. And it also, because it's trained on CAPS, the structure and the framework it designs to grade the papers is going to be rooted in CAPS. So let's look at this example here. So it says, yes, according to CAPS, it gives you the framework. And then now it also drafts what is going to focus on when it grades those papers, right? And let's look at essay 1, for example. Because on the essays, it was just a normal drafted blank paragraph that I generated on myself just to test the system out. There are no mark allocations, okay? But because of, as part of CAPS requirement, it mentions there the mark allocation. Then let's look at the content. So essay 1, simple and honest. It looks at the content and the structure, the language and grammar, and there's the comments there. It tells you what the structure was about, and also gives you guidance as a teacher. Okay, when you do your remedials, how should you approach a learner like this, right? I'm just going to scroll down slowly so that we get a sense of how the system looks like. And we spoke about personality and the learner having their own voice, right? And as the AI graded the paper, it sort of like identified patterns on the sort of like voice of each learner. We have funny and relatable, we have creative and descriptive, we have reflective and thoughtful. There's essay 5 there, there's energetic and narrative learner. So overall, it outlines the strengths and the weaknesses, and right off the back, it suggests an intervention plan that is CAPS aligned. So as Ms. Ndlovu, the first thing is to go do you plan your intervention? Yes. So when it comes to intervention plans, it outlines it always goes back to CAPS. What does CAPS say about intervention plans in English file? Then it states the context there, and it also states the framework according to CAPS. And then the second goal, it explains the end goal and actually the purpose of the intervention plan. We have the duration there, it's 2 weeks. And it sort of like breaks down how our strategy should look like. Can be in a form of grammar intervention. We started with grammar intervention there. There is editing and proofreading skills. There is vocabulary development, sentence structure, the writing process in reinforcement, and there's also a suggestion for assessment, right? And there's support. Maybe you want to, let's make this intervention plan more relevant. I feel like the jargon there is too deep. All right. So now, based on the results from the intervention plan, we want to make this intervention plan more relatable, more relevant to the learners. And then it suggests, let's looking at WhatsApp messages, Instagram captions, TikTok. I mean, these are platforms that these kids use, right? And it's important that we connect to their standard of thinking. So, for example, with grammar using social media examples, we have a WhatsApp style message where a child will go like, my holidays was late, we was just chilling, did not do much, LOL. So as a teacher, it's important that when you approach your learners, sort of like start at their level, right? And the system helps you to design that level of thinking where you begin from where they are using social media, and then you're guiding them through what is going to be required at the end of the year. So as the intervention plan goes down, you get to understand that the difference between social media world, the social media words, and the formal alternative words that we use. We had the presentation where a former the former colleague just mentioning how it's important to get to start teaching learners to use their own voice. As a framework to start, we with the system does is that it starts from where the learners are and takes them through how the how our education is, where we're looking at grading them, where we're looking at verbs, or we're looking at what the marker is actually looking at to actually ensure that this learner understands what they are really writing about. And we have our intervention plan that is tailored to what learners want. And okay, there's a suggestion for an informal task where it gives us an assessment strategy. So let's go for that. Okay. Please develop. More task. So the informal task is always based on the actual intervention plan, where it gives you an example of the social media language lingo that the learner might use, and then it asks them to circle and underline the grammar mistakes or spelling mistakes and so forth, or informal or slang language. So it breaks it down into parts where it frames the learner's mind and to differentiate between social media language and formal language. Okay, so let me bring you back. In less than 10 minutes, I would like to believe, we've graded our papers, we've developed an intervention plan, we've also sort of like designed our intervention plan to be relevant to our students. And also, finally, we then now developed an assessment plan that is based on relevance in the classroom. So now, the question is then now, what does this tool, what changed actually after this tool? And I'll tell you this. Oops. The insight that changed everything for Ms. Dlamini was that before EduCap's AI, Ms. Dlamini would have discovered struggling learners days after, if she had time to review everything carefully, right? Where by then the gaps would have widened, confidence would have dropped, the moment for intervention would have passed, meaning that her framework was more reactive and not proactive. And the patterns were spotted too late, intervention was delayed by the workload. But after EduCap's AI, she just asked a simple question: which students are struggling? And the immediate was immediate. She knew immediately what she could act, or she knew what she would do on the same day. She could reach the right student at the right time, meaning that with the help of EduCap's AI, her system is now proactive and not reactive. Patterns are spotted in real time, and intervention is done while it still matters. So let's come back to the real question here. After EduCap's AI, Ms. Dlamini's classroom atmosphere changed. The learners are loud, but they are engaged. she's more present, she's more attentive. And during her lesson, she notices this child seated at the back of the class, the child that she would only spot only if she has time. So she walks over this child. I mean, the child was seated at the back, quiet, shy. So Miss Lamine walks towards this child. Hi, are you okay? Then the child responds. His response mattered. It mattered because Miss Lamini now was present. Miss Lamini now was ready to nurture. And now, that moment right there, that's teaching. Not grading, not reporting, not data entry. The human connection that changes a life. In the wise words of Nelson Mandela, that education is the most powerful tool to change the world. And I still believe that's still relevant now. And we should always strive to change the world. I thank you.
I think it should just be mentioned that the EpiCaps AI he programmed that AI bot and he wrote the whole thing. So if you want to maybe play around with it, you can contact him regarding the EpiCaps AI. It's not on Google or something.
Yes.
He actually programmed a bot and made it completely relevant to CAPS. So,
Yes.
When you loaded the script now, was it one script?
Excuse me?
One loaded script.
No, I actually uploaded 6. Yes.
Now I want to find out so you can multitask. How many scripts can you upload?
Yes. So I haven't really had time to really see the capacity, but it's also because this is on a paid platform. By the way, this system is free, right? Anybody with the link can use it. And I think it's an opportunity for us to experiment with it, And that's why I'm here. That's why I actually want you educators to use these tools, So I'll challenge you to actually use it. And yes, ma'am.
Sometimes it's quite,
Yes.
By the time that I already finished with my scripts, and by the time that AI has already given me the feedback, I've already done the scripts.
Yes.
So then I'm uploading. So I have the quick for you. This is a very good thing in terms of intervention. I would definitely be looking at it like that line. I'm going to tell you, if I'm sitting with 30 scripts and looking at my notes, because I deeply look at my script.
Yes.
By the time I've uploaded that 30 scripts and it's giving me that long information, I've already finished my script. It's
okay.
Very good intervention.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Schools, it handwritten.
Yes.
So how can the suffering's handwriting, engraving that.
Yes. And actually, thank you for that. But remember, that's what we should actually figure out. For me, because I was just really trying to really explore what the capabilities of this tool is. That's an opportunity for us to go try out, And my vision with this is to really create a collaborative community where we come together, we share insights, and we get to really improve these tools. Yes, ma'am.
With the marketing, but it's amazing, and then you can maybe time
and upload and then give them the feedback. And it's very nice that it's timely feedback while the learners are still what they've learned is fresh.
I think what you need is a single units upload. So if you show, I think you've got your 30 papers. Yeah, single accounts.
Yeah.
I have a question. It's also a little bit of caution regarding the question is that
Yes, sir.
there's still ChatGPT's gender AI.
Yes.
Well, ChatGPT.
Yes.
GPTs. The problem with this, the cautionary side of the question is that still generative AI. So that means have you tried to standardize the marking? Because I think from my assumption now, if you do the same 6 essays again, the same different chat again and again, marks will not be the same. So that's going to be a problem for standardizing essays because then you're going to rely on something that's going to make new assumptions every time. Because it's generative AI creates new things from patterns. So that's a big portion I'm going to just provide now. And then also see that there's in my other portion as well with writing.
Yes.
It's possible, but you should do it segmentation, like one by one. Do a lot of images at the same time. It's going to overlap the stories of the students or the learners, and it's going to make up again a few marks that's not going to be standardized. So I think just caution, marking is not going to be the best thing at the moment.
Okay. Okay. Well, thanks for that. Yes, ma'am.
I think it would be a fantastic tool to use for feedback in the writing process. And from a teacher, English teacher's point of view, when I read the same essay a day later, I do see it differently. So my feedback on one day might actually be a little bit different the next day. So I'm not too worried about the difference in feedback that might come if you had to re-input it. But I think it would be such a useful feedback tool where it can generate those personalized comments, because that's what kids actually want, especially in our digital world. They're going to feel like they've been seen. So I think your idea is so usable in that sense, because that's what takes time for our online school teachers. Some of them have large classes. I'm expecting them to get feedback. And so perhaps what could happen is they get feedback on their rough draft, which can be typed, in that sense. And then their final is where they bring about. So the teacher, your bot is not correcting it; it's pointing out.
Sure.
And that's where I think it is so useful. It could be so useful.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Tshepo. We really appreciate it. Nice info as well.
Thank you very much.